Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Yield Today with Dallin Camlin. This is episode number 69, talking about 2020 as a whole, things I learned, and talking about three specific topics: health, side hustles, and school. We're talking about mindsets, thoughts on 2020 as a whole, things I learned, lots of takeaways, things like that. So buckle up. And as always, thank you so much for listening to the show, and I hope it is beneficial for you. Let's jump right into it. With health, I was really hoping to do a lot of running. Hopefully over 100 runs was the plan. I had it all planned out in an Excel sheet. But what happened was coronavirus happened, of course. I also had some other injuries, like a foot injury, and there were just a lot of things that happened that made it difficult to run consistently, and I was not really able to keep up that habit. I probably went on like 60 runs in 2020, which honestly isn't that bad. Generally, it wouldn't be that bad compared to the overall population. But compared to high school, Dallin, yeah, that's not too great. And yeah. However, these injuries gave me the opportunity to practice aggressive self care with myself. When I had my foot injury, I had to have ice on it all the time or heat. And that got me to like just chill out. And the nice thing about that was it just helped me to tap into myself and kind of get to know myself better. So I would do a lot more meditation. I'd go on walks and just kind of write thoughts that were on my mind. It was really good for my mental health and really skyrocketed a lot of my creativity and ideas. And so I'm very thankful that I had these injuries and I had the coronavirus, I had COVID, because it helped me to tap into these parts of me that probably were not being realized as much. And moving into 2021, I'm hoping to go on runs probably every single day except Sunday for a little bit of time, and I'll talk about that later on not in this episode, but in the life of the podcast. So definitely follow definitely follow so you do not miss hearing more about that. I had a number of family, friends, and other people pass away, which also helped me get to know myself better and just appreciate my own life better and appreciate like I can still make a difference and help a lot of people out. Just the podcast is such a powerful medium. I could record this if I were, really sick, because all you need is a voice to make a podcast, and we all have a voice. So, yeah. I did a lot of push-ups. I got pretty good at like doing push-ups consistently. I'll still bust out some push-ups. One of the main revelations with that was at one point our microwave. I lived at my parents' house from December to July this past year. And one of the main revelations that occurred was we needed to move the microwave. So we moved it out into the garage. The garage has an exercise mat by it. So I got into the habit of every single time something was in the microwave, I'd do some push-ups. And that adds up over time. I'm pretty good at push-ups. You can't really see it, especially since I'm wearing a jacket right now. But yeah, hopefully, but in 2020, I'm definitely going to prioritize exercise and deprioritize some of the things I've been prioritizing, like sloppy food habits and whatnot. And we're trying to like plan it out better too. So that's the health side of things. I think that's pretty good analysis. Overall it was like pretty good. I'm very happy. I didn't get sick too bad. Got the coronavirus. All of this stuff helped me focus more on self-care, create more self-care content, and do it from a vulnerable like perspective. So it was like real. So that was good. Now into side hustles. Side hustles is cool. I was really hoping to have like a coaching business and a YouTube consulting business. I had all these ideas, but the thing was they were just all over the place. I ran a YouTube creators workshop over Zoom in June for 6 weeks, and that was good. It led to no money. I think it helped a couple people start YouTube channels, but the fact of the matter was July of this year, I still didn't really know exactly what I want to do with my life. And not only that, what I wanted to focus on. I spent like January to April just learning about different opportunities. I learned about Rev, where you can like type and make money doing that, and found out how sketchy the practices of the company were. And maybe they're better now, but when I was going and gonna try it, it was pretty bad. And just all kinds of stuff, and just all these kind of things that sounded cool on paper, and then you actually dive into it. It's like, oh no way am I doing this? Complete waste of time. And just kind of all testify to the fact that a side hustle takes time to develop. It's usually something you think of like a farmer, and they've got this crop. Let's say you have this crop that's growing, but you're also like, hey, I want to also take care of this other crop that isn't necessary to my growth and happiness, but I just like taking care of it. And maybe it can bear fruit in the future. That's kind of how I think of a side hustle in a way, is something you consistently give attention to. And that was another big thing I learned in 2020, is the power of focusing hardcore and getting into the flow state. Generally, it takes around 20 minutes to get into the flow state. So if I'm doing something I really enjoy, not too into it, I try to like hang on there until a little bit longer. And sometimes the flow state kicks in quicker. And that was just definitely, the flow state is something super big I'm going to focus on in 2021. I used the Forest app to track a bunch of Pomodoro timers, probably logged in over 400 hours on that, just for different categories. So if I was working on a podcast thing, I was in that. If I was studying for school, I had a category for that. And the app makes it super easy. I would easily be an affiliate for them, but alas, that is not the case. But I use their app a ton, and it's only getting better. So I use that a lot to track a lot of my side hustle activities. I had a goal to make $1,000 online by September 1st. And I didn't really have a very good idea of how to do that. And it was funny because I was like selling old video games. I was doing all this kind of stuff. And I realized, like, if I'd focused on one of these things for that amount of time, I could have easily done it. But the fact was, I was losing my focus when it mattered most with all these different things. I made all these Instagram accounts, like one for Pokemon stuff, one for Nintendo stuff. And I was just like keeping myself busy, which is good. But there needs to be some kind of value that you're providing for yourself and the viewer. And, you know, there's a lot of other things that go into it. For one thing, you don't want to put full-time full-time work hours into a side hustle unless you intend for it to grow that way. I was putting a lot of time into Instagram and LinkedIn posting and stuff, and LinkedIn posting has probably paid off the most generally, but there was also other things that I was like putting attention into, like streaming, and I did not make a cent from streaming, and I streamed for 54 hours since September while doing, 13 credit hours for school and a podcast. It was pandemonium. It was ridiculous. But, jumping into that pool of ridiculousness, I know what ridiculousness feels like. Like, I am literally running on a wheel. This is no 9 to 5. I'm not making a cent from this. And I'm putting a ton of time and attention into it. There'd be times I'd be streaming and I'd keep streaming because there'd be like 3 people there. And then I'd miss like an hour or two to do homework because I just keep streaming. And that just adds up over time. I did a lot of talking with podcast coaches, life coaches, some on the podcast, some off the podcast. And these gave me a lot of perspective and clarity. On Instagram, I posted nearly every single day in 2020, so that saw a lot of growth. Did some Instagram lives with my friend Willie Blake. Just tried a lot of different things, and still have not really made a cent from any of my quote-unquote side hustles, but I have sold some video games, made some money from that, and I watched a lot of this one cool dude named the Financial Wolf. He's like a teenager and does a lot of side hustle stuff, but he's kind of got it figured out. He has it down to his science. He does his schoolwork and stuff, but he also makes time to work on his side hustles, and he treats that time as sacred. And I think that's just so powerful, obviously. and you just don't compromise on that. Because with track, there was not one track practice in high school where I was running and I was running and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to leave early. That never happened once in 3 years. We always finished it out, learned from it, embraced it, just took it all in, you know? That was something we always did. And so you have to treat that time as the sacred time that it is. There was 2 days, I think, in a row when I wrote for an hour and it felt fantastic. And then we kind of fell off the boat. I'm kind of getting back into it now, though. Now my book was pretty much done come August, and I released it unofficially on Amazon on the 24th. All of the money is still going to the Society for Suicide Prevention from the United States. It's still going to that, but the crazy thing is I still haven't released it because it's so crazy, but I released it and then it wasn't like quite done. And so just the planning of it and all this other stuff, I'm like, holy cow, I definitely bit off a bit more than I could chew and just getting it done. But I did do a lot of writing in it. I probably wrote 12,000 words in it, finished it up unofficially. We're still trying to finish it up again, sort of, by, I don't want to make a date or a promise, but definitely before next year ends. I also try to do a little bit of email marketing and learning about SEO because of an SEO class I had. So there's just a lot of side hustles on the table that added up to $0.00, but I learned from it, and I have a very good idea of what I'm going to do come 2021 coming tomorrow. And I'm going to talk more about that probably in a future episode when I have more of it planned out. But rest assured, I am definitely aware of how much time I lost in 2020 and the lessons I learned, because I have so many of them written down in podcast episodes, etc., in their raw, rich glory. And so we're going to make a ton of progress in 2021 for sure. And I hope that this podcast helps you make a lot of progress in your dreams as well. We'll be getting a lot more interviewers on, and it's going to be really good. We already have a couple recorded. I'm going to get those up. First one up probably on Monday. But, yeah. So, and finally, let's just talk about school really fast. I don't know how many people really want to stick around for this, but yeah, with school, it was good because I was online school back at home, and I had all this time, and I just slept in a lot because it was like Eastern Standard Time, so I got 2 more hours to work on assignments. It was so easy to push the envelope until the very last second, but there's a couple classes where I would plan ahead, and it felt so good to just plan ahead and get something done. And this semester, I did a very good job of getting something done each day of the semester. Like, I would always like, okay, we can get this little thing done, and I don't care if this is going to save me like 20 minutes of time. It's going to help me focus more because I'm giving more time to other things. I don't have to tax my brain so much. And I just came to like care more about my overall like self-care, as I was saying before. And I also understood and got to understand a lot of other things. I guess kind of going along with school, my self-education, I've read a lot of books. Probably this is the most books I read in a year, most likely. I read a bunch of books on BYUI, Overdrive, like the first 3 Harry Potter books, also 5 Second Rule by Mel Robbins, The Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg, Atomic Habits, I read that again. There's a lot of books, and they all gave me a lot of perspective and really just helped me get to know myself better, and just, I don't know, they just helped me be a little bit more excited and thankful for the life that I do have and the things that I have learned. With school, I also have been building relationships with some of my professors and getting to know them better, so that has been really good. And yeah, my LinkedIn game has definitely gotten better. I've been posting a lot more in there, so that has been fun as well. I guess with some concluding thoughts for 2020, it was really kind of a big, just kind of a detour. There's a lot of detours, I feel like, with 2020. It's like, oh, you're going down this road. It's like, nah, you gotta go this other way. And for those who, enjoyed it and recognize that, you know what, I think there's a lot to learn from all those detours. Just goes to show you need to have a backup plan. You have to have a plan B. There's a couple times that have an episode recorded, and that really came in handy when I wasn't going to be able to record that night because of just too much noise or in my environment or something. But yeah, as far as the podcast goes, really fast. I think we uploaded like around 40 or 50 episodes, probably close to 60. We really kind of picked up the pace at the end, which was really awesome. I had this one moment where I didn't edit out a little part of it, and it made it so there's this awkward pause at the beginning, and that got me to create another episode later that week talking about that and apologizing. And I ended up making another episode each Thursday after. And then coming into 2021, I'm planning on only recording only uploading an episode once a week, unless I really feel like there needs to be an upload on Thursday. And that's kind of how it is. If you hear a dog, that is the dogs barking. I'm at my aunt's house right now, but I'm just so thankful. We're almost at 2,000 lifetime downloads. There's just so many people to thank, so many people I'm thankful for have helped the podcast keep growing and helped me keep growing and become a better version of myself. I know this was not a perfect episode, but truly I am thankful for 2020, all of the difficult times, all of the lessons it taught me, and all those who supported me throughout the year, because it was definitely a crazy year. I had multiple internship interviews that fell through, all kinds of stuff, and yet I am much better for it, and I'm excited for 2021. So without further ado, huzzah for 2020. Thank you for everything that we learned. I'm thankful for everything we learned from 2020. Let's move on to 2021, and I hope I can see you on the other side. With that all said, thank you so much for listening, and don't forget to yield today, and it will be better tomorrow.